I think now we're going to move on to Sabers. We're going to be on the second half of our teams for tonight. We have Sydney Sabers, who were sync listed at 13th. They finished in 13th after Cascade 2 and then climbed one spot to 12th in finals. They had 2 wins and 3 seconds. And just a quick observation that I made when I was going through it is they beat Apex in the tournament, but all the other teams that they beat were below them. So they did a really good job of beating the teams they should have. They didn't take any big scalps during the tournament, but they finished around about where they were sync listed. It's about where they were expected. So, yeah. Holmes, would you want to kick us off on this one? Tell me, did you play them much, and what did you see?
Yeah, I think we versed them a couple times. I actually saw a little bit more of them through watching like Adrenaline's games. I think they versed Adrenaline quite a few times. So again, another team that has a really, really good defense and like a bit more of a priority on defense, I guess. So from what I could tell, they had Zam was their in-game leader and their lead attacker, and he would go out with I can't remember who would he have gone out with. I think it might have been Polchrome or Princess that he was going out with as like they were the opening batsmen. I think they did quite a lot of 2-man attacks with Zam pushing his players through the bases. And he was doing really well. He's got like all of them have like really, really crisp timing. They like play like a pretty. Their pack on pack skills are like pretty consistent, I guess. Like they don't always like pop off insane, like other than Spider, but they're consistent. And I think consistency is, if you can get consistent and then you start popping off later, that's probably a good way to go about it. I'd rather have a team of like consistent players than a team of streaky players that, they can have some good days, but they can also have some pretty bad days. Yeah, and then they had Spider was playing all over the shop. I think he surprisingly wasn't actually the first person out on attack despite having the highest base average. But he was playing that middle position a little bit more, like field pointing, when nothing's happening at home, being that third person to help crack open a base or potentially run in and take the base himself if there's an opportunity. Sometimes, like, I kind of alluded to it in the last thing, that we versed them in round robin when they were playing blue. And they were the first team that we saw to actually have someone in the base and using it effectively. And that person was Spider. So he was all over the shop. He was last line, he was attacking, he was the mid, he was all over the shop. But that's probably like a good use of a player like him, that middle position where they're always in the place that like their team needs the most, I guess.
I guess we should add, while we're talking about Spider, he topped the solo ladder, and he also got a tag ratio of 1.71, which is
nuts.
Like, regardless of where you're playing on the ladder, a 1.7 tag ratio is phenomenally crazy. He'd have to be up there in the conversation as the top paneling players, certainly at the moment, but he's going to be, if he keeps results up like this, he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats in terms of paneling players. CV, what can you say? Firstly, about Spider. Now, did you verse him much in the arena? And where, what did you see from Spider? And as one of the best paneling players that the Aussie scene's ever seen, how do you deal with it? Deal with him?
Previously, in previous years with Spider, I've contested on the panel and basically gone 50-50 from what I believe. But this year, I believe he's getting better. So Spider is a combination of the thickness, the girth, uses angulation intelligently, and has the reach to come around and not only tag perhaps your chest, but also get a quick tag on your phaser should you expose it. So rather than risk a less than favourable 50% roll on a panel fight, I would take it away, walk around and plug him in the chest and accept the double. It would be the only player that I did that with probably in the Australasian scene. The other comparable player would be Yor. Once again, large, tall standing player, thick girth, left-handed. However, I believe Spider's a bit harder to verse on panel because just of the difference of nuance on the scene. The Finnish and Swedish players don't favour panel fighting, whereas we're right in the thick of it. So I believe Spider's skills are a bit more developed in that way. So I would try and take on a panel. Spider, no, I think I'm just going to concede the mirror, not verse a lefty that's very experienced on a panel, and just take the panel away and go for the one-on-one. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said when you got, I think it's unbelievable how long his arms are as well, and the combination of the arms, the height, the size of his body, everything makes him incredibly difficult to tag. Tell me about the team, mate. Did you verse them much? Did the Vikings come up against the Sabers much, and how was it playing against them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've taken a step in the right direction this year. The first thing I noticed was Spider did not come flying at us in the first 2 minutes looking for bases. It was actually a combination of other attackers in his roster, which is over the next couple of years going to develop their attacking experience and less reliance on Spider to push them through bases. Once again, though, still very heavy in defence, which favours them really well because in defence they communicate well, they pack well. And if you let them play that game, they'll take competition points off you, quite frankly. I believe Spider was able to go through after maybe Zam or Polchrome have gone out in their skirmish. He was able to go through after that and exploit, how could I put it, at the start, a prepared defence on full power and so forth. Once the game's shaken up a bit, he's able to go through with a little bit of confusion, chaos, and potentially solo bases. And I have seen him sneak through, backdoor, 3-4 defenders. There's the base, and then he rolls through, takes the next one in similar fashion. So perhaps not having him attacking those prepared defences enables that particular play style, opportunistic, very well. And then I believe after that, I'd rotate down to Princess and Dart on the attack. Have they, if they do allow a game to break open, but I found with their lower order that if you allowed the game to break open and try and push the game out for more than 6 bases, that's where they'll probably falter. This team excels in 5 to 6 base games and letting them pack and scoring higher pack, they'll run away and take the win if you let them do it. But the first thing I noticed this year, different attackers giving other players more experience is a step in the right direction. It'll allow this team to not just have one form of game. It'll enable more plays, more diversity, more experience in your attackers, and is better for the future rather than just having a particular key player tank through and decide the outcome of the team. One thing that's always irked me about this particular roster is there's one too many on the team. I just 7-man on the roster. It didn't allow enough rotations evenly for the team. Couldn't get experience defending, attacking from different bases. That they really need to cut one off and go to a 6-man roster. Therefore, more players are getting more game time, which would convert to better pack on pack and so forth.
Yeah, and Ryan, have you got anything to add to the Sabers? Where are they going to get their next jump from?
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of history for Sabers as well. So they're in a similar boat to what Adrenaline was, in that they were assembled and getting ready for Nationals thinking it was going to be on in 2021, and then that fell through. So I think, the struggle of like training for 2 years for something that always feels like it's like too far away, it's really hard to keep that productive and stuff. But I think Spider's done a really good job leading this team and really putting an emphasis on like this first year with his team not being the year that they try and necessarily get the highest they can, but a year where they're really investing in the future. You know, it's one of those things where you have to be realistic as like a development team. Like, you're probably not going to be up there with those top teams yet. So it's like Nationals is their best place to try and like level up your team, and you know, that kind of showed in the way that they ran their team. Like, Spider's obviously the strongest player in the team, and he probably would have done like they might have placed higher. Like, not throwing shade on Zam, because Zam was doing an exceptionally job, but potentially they could have gone a little bit higher in terms of positions if Spider was the one leading the attack and stuff as such a dominant force, right? But that's not necessarily going to transfer into, you know, more improvement when you are wanting to play next year, and that's the year that you're really wanting to have like a really good showing. So, yeah, I think the way the team was ran and like the way they used their time at Nationals, really commendable. Yeah, that's the best thing to be doing with a development team, I think. So yeah, I think they just need more time, you know, like we keep harking on about. That first year Nationals experience really levels you up like quite a lot. I think we alluded to it in the previous thing that the Sydney teams are like actually like pretty consistently playing like smart strategic laser tag, and that's just the case of, you know, being able to back up the strategic decisions and really getting everyone on the roster being able to do everything. So yeah, it's unfortunately pretty generic advice, but, you know, just keep playing, keep fleshing out your roster, get everyone to a point where they're like comfortable doing everything, find out who's like the best at doing what, and then yeah, just keep on pushing it, guys, and they could very, very well be convincingly in the top 10 next year, I think.
I really love what they did with putting Spider in that mid role. I just think you've got you know, such a weapon there. Like, literally, he's basically unbeatable on a panel, essentially, right, by any player in the Aussie scene. So you've got somebody who's going to win 100% of the time that they're on a panel, almost, unless somebody comes and stands in front of them. So you've got such a weapon there. If they can evolve that game controller and that opening attack in some other players, like you said, they're going to be able to go up the ladder so quickly. Because once that's developed, quite often, you know, it takes a little bit of time for that to develop a really strong mid role in your team. Somebody who can read a game, accumulate points, be in attack when they need to be in defense when they need to be, requires a lot of decision making. And the fact they've got somebody like like Lachlan who could potentially play that role and be so dominant in it, because he's going to be able to beat up all the other mids who are floating out to get points and things like that, I think will be a real weapon for them going forward. So best of luck to all you guys on that team. We really hope you guys stick together, and we hope to see you in Tassie, because you know, there's the future of ZLTAC right there. Yeah, we hope to see you guys in the top 10 soon.